A question that I pose to myself and I pose to this audience is, are we the most covetous generation? Let me start by actually defining what covetous means, or covetousness. The dictionary defines it as inordinate, good, inordinately or wrongly desirous of wealth or possessions, eagerly desirous, or jealousy, eager for the possession of something or someone. So when you are seeing somebody have something or do something and you desire that, typically related to the possession of wealth or the desire of wealth to have wealthy things. And I feel like the answer is yes. I have not done a longitudinal study of this. I have not done a case study. I've not done anything. So this is not evidence based. However, it is Esther based. So that's what's important today. But I generally feel like we may be one of the most covetous generations because of the rise of social media, which is why this episode is so important. And I'm saying to a lot of women and whoever you are watching this, do we really need to consume this much? We're in the season of Christmas, the holidays, Black Friday, all these sales, and consumer culture is really killing our generation. It's really killing our generation, our pockets. Inflation is already rising. Why are we still looking to consume and do all these things that when we step back we realize aren't actually necessary? And the cost of living is rising, inflation is rising, like so many things are working against us, and you don't really need a lot of the things. And when I say to consume, I mean both material things and media. And like the way that we consume media, which does feed the consumption of material things, is just so grossly wrong in this generation, and something that I am consistently trying to fight against for my own personal life. If it was left to me, I would probably not be on a lot of social media platforms. I fight the urge to like delete my Instagram like every 3 days and to delete a lot of things, but because I have a mandate and an assignment from the Lord to produce certain things, I will remain there. But I try as much as possible to produce more than I consume. And I always say to people, a lot of the reason that you might feel covetous, you might find yourself battling jealousy, battling envy, battling, your self-esteem. A lot of these things is because you're probably consuming one, the wrong things, and consuming more than you're actually producing. You're sitting behind a screen watching people live their lives, watching people go for things, and you're not doing the same. You're not taking the same opportunities that are potentially available to you or you can make available to you. And people wonder why their life doesn't look like what they expected it to be, right? And your life and your destiny and your tomorrow and your future are the amalgamation of all the opportunities that you take, all the decisions that you're making today. My pastor said it this way, that the present that we're living in is somebody else's dreams that they fulfilled. We're currently living in the dreams that were fulfilled to someone else. Someone else decided not to sit around. They decided to do this, to do that, to go to school, to take this job, to not go to this country, to not do these things. And we're living in the outcome of others' decisions. And you can either decide to live in the outcome of your best decisions or your worst decisions or your undecidedness. A lot of undecidedness and just being passive about your life and being passive in thinking that things are just going to come to you. And that's part of what media, especially social media, has walked our generation into, where we now sit and we scroll mindlessly. And that doom scrolling, oh God, how it traps people. You're scrolling for hours on end and your mind like is getting this dopamine hit every single time, thinking there's more, keep going, keep going. And you're watching people do this and do that, and I want to do this and I want to do that. And the thing is, all these these desires and to have certain things and to have good things is not innately bad. It's not inherently negative to want to travel or to want to, buy a house or to want to go shopping at Sephora or to want to learn to play a new sport. It's not inherently bad. What I'm saying is particularly related to how people become discontent with their lives and with themselves and what they have because they're busy and focused on watching what others are doing. The moment that I find myself putting more energy and more intention and more of my attention to what other people are doing and how I can get to where other people are, then focus on what God has told me to do. The moment I leave my assignment and my eyes are fixed, I know I've gone astray. Like I know it's gotten really bad. And I'm thinking, oh, like what would it be like if I was this and if this was this? And the funny thing is a lot of these things look so glamorous and so good because that person has invested into their lives and into themselves in that way. What they're doing, we see a lot of people go viral on Instagram and on TikTok for just the most random crazy things. And then you'll see people like there's this one TikTok page that I find entertaining. It's the ranchers or the farmers that they have like their cattle and their horses, and they'll show how they clean the horseshoes and how they clean like their hooves and all this stuff. And you'll see people that God knows where they are in Vancouver, Wyoming, wherever they're living, and they're thinking like, "Oh, I would love to do this. I would love to." And it's just like you would love to do it because the person that you're seeing doing it has invested in it and they've made it look good. And obviously they're not showing you all the other sides that aren't positive, right? So we assume a lot of things, and what you're doing and how you're living your life could also be as great or as fulfilling, and you could be as content in that if it's generally what you're supposed to be doing and what brings you joy, if you fully invested in that and if you fix your focus on yourself and on your life rather than what other people are doing. And I've just found that consumer culture has put in us this idea that everything that we see online is normal and is like okay. Like it's not normal to spend the amounts of money, even to make the amounts of money that these influencers make. Like it's good and it can happen to people. Like it's not to say that, oh, don't think it's going to happen to you. Like it could happen to you, and that's a cool opportunity. That's great, but that's not the normal. Like those are outliers. There it's becoming more frequent. Yes, because influencers are a major source of marketing and advertising now. However, it's still not normal. Like majority of our population, a majority of people and young adults don't make that amount of money, don't travel once a month, aren't buying the newest Mercedes, aren't doing a Sephora haul like every 2 weeks, don't have like all the fancy coffee making machines. Like social media will make you think that you need to become have your whole barista set up at home with all the tech gadgets, and they're always coming out with something for making a little espresso shot. Like there are about like 30 different gadgets, little trinkets that you can get just to make one good pull of an espresso shot. And that's not normal. It's not normal to live and to consume that much. It's not normal to spend all your money like that. And until we can pull ourselves back and realize that, like, you actually don't need a new wardrobe every season, you don't need the newest drop from Zara. Empty that cart. That Pretty Little Things cart is not getting paid for. You can't afford to pay for it. Even if you can't afford to pay for it, you probably shouldn't, because I'm sure there's better things that your money can go towards. And it's just like, there's so many things that we've convinced ourselves that we need to make ourselves happy. And because of the cycle that you've been in, because of the system you've put your brain in, and like how your brain has fed off of the dopamine that you've been getting from that, of course you're going to think that no, I actually do need it. It actually does bring me peace. It brings you peace because you brought yourself anxiety by first coveting and consuming and watching what people are doing. So you've created this like negative feedback cycle. And I feel like a lot of people need to reset themselves reset yourself by deleting social media, unfollowing some people. And TikTok, it doesn't really matter who you follow because they're just going to show you everything. So TikTok is one thing that, like, removing that for some time, resetting yourself and like grounding yourself and looking around and saying, actually, my life is okay. What I have is enough. What's in my fridge is enough. What's in my closet is enough. What's in my, home is enough. The friends that I have is enough. What I have is enough. Learn to be content. Learn to be content with what you have. And that doesn't mean that what you have is where you have to stay, but you have to learn to be content. Paul said it best. He said, I've learned to abound, how to abound, and I've learned to be base. In Philippians, he said, but I rejoice when he was speaking to the Philippian church, and he was speaking on how they have cared for him and how they're now able to care for him again, because previously there was a period where they could not. And he said, but I rejoiced in the Lord greatly that now at last your care for me has flourished again. Now you can do what you've been doing before, essentially. Though you surely did care, but you lacked opportunity. Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. And that is where we hear the scripture that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And this idea of being content doesn't mean that you have to settle for a life that is, not the best, or that a life that is not fulfilling. That doesn't mean that. It means, my pastor said it this way, and I quote him a lot because he's always having gems. But he said that you can have a lot of things. You can have the big house, you can have the car, you can have yacht if you want. Sure, but let what makes you happy be small. Let it be what's in your hand, even. Let it be a handful. Have all those things, but whether they stay, whether they come, whether they go, whether they're taken from you, whether you have to give them away, let what actually makes you happy and what makes you content be small. And so in having these material things, like, it's cool to, you know, if you have a certain style. For me, I know I've said it multiple times. I don't know what it is, but every time I go in the store, every time I shop somewhere, my eye always draws to the most expensive things. I've literally tried scrolling, looking for a new couch, looking for something. I said, okay, let me filter. It doesn't catch my eye, and it just so happens that what catches my eye is the most expensive things. I understand. And you can still have those things, but if you don't have those things, are you going to be okay? If you're not able to take that trip, are you going to be okay? If you're not able to, take those lessons, are you going to be okay? If you're not able to go to this fancy gym in your city, are you going to be okay? If you're not able to buy these clothes, are you going to be okay? If you're not able, and the thing is, a lot of people, if you really were honest with yourself, if nobody was watching you and nobody was looking at what you have and what you're doing, and if there was no social media to show people, or no one to impress your family or friends, like they didn't care or they didn't know, you wouldn't actually get a lot of those things. You get them because you want to show people you have them, and it's like you want to be affirmed by people that you either have money or you look put together, or all these things. You get the car because you want people to see that you have this nice car. And it's just like, if no one was looking and no one was there, would you actually still get those things? And if you would, okay, cool, maybe it's justified. But also, if you can't, are you going to be okay? And for people, as I said before, like, for people that you're kind of stuck online and you're in this cycle of consuming, one thing that I've always promised for myself to do, especially as I'm more online and, doing these podcasts and sharing my life story and all this stuff, like, as much as I am online and I like to consume as well, and I like to be entertained and all this stuff, like, how much am I actually investing back into myself? How much am I actually producing? You see a lot of the people that one created these social media platforms, they either don't use them or they don't let their kids use them, or the people that are producing some of the things that we use regularly, they don't have the time, the availability to consume in the same ways. People that are producing, that have a large output of influence, of value, of character, like, you have to be consuming the right things to have an output of what you want. You can't be consuming everything TikTok advice from this person, and you're expecting to have intelligent conversations. If you want, you're expecting to be a doctor, and everything you're spending your time on TikTok scrolling instead of reading your book. Please God, I hope you don't ever enter my operating room, right? And that is like an extreme case, but you just look at your life in general. Whatever it is that you want to do, if you're a teacher, if you're a writer, like you have to prioritize what are your sources that you're drawing from. You're drawing inspiration from, you're drawing knowledge from, you're building your character from. If you recognize that what you want to put out is not actually what you're consuming, then things have to change. If I'm concerned with my digestive system, well, I have to look at first, what am I consuming? And then that will tell me a lot about and help me fix what is coming out of me, right? And when I speak about Paul was able to say this, one, because of a big topic that I find a lot of Christians shy away from and aren't ready to speak about. I've been beaten on the head with this word and with this topic of death to self so many times, and it's not something that I can say I have conquered, and and I feel like it's an ongoing thing. Paul said, I die daily. I die to my desires daily. I die to my flesh daily. I die to the things that this world tells me I should want and that people tell me I should want. It's like, our flesh is very strong. Our human desire, our human will is very, 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 very strong. Do not ever deny that and think that you can just overcome it and just, it does take the grace of God. It does take help. It takes systems to put in place to resist the urge to watch people go about living their lives and you're consuming what they're putting out. It takes, the grace of God and help to kill the urge to want to chase things, to chase money, to chase wealth, to chase possessions, to chase, all these accolades and all these things. Like the Bible says, covet earnestly the good gifts of God. We're supposed to covet the things that actually add value to our lives. We're supposed to covet the things that God has for us. We're supposed to covet earnestly, the good traits that we see in people. When you see people that are reliable, those are the things that you should actually be focused on, and how can I increase in that? So when I'm speaking on this, I'm not speaking about like if you follow creators and stuff, that they're actually providing you good content. They're actually helping you grow as a person. They're actually helping you build your skills. A lot of people that I follow for videography work that I want to learn how to do, like there's people that are actually putting out great things, and that's still learning. So it's knowing that and having a fine balance of, okay, how much is me learning from this person and how much is me trying to step into this person's position and be who they are and have the influence they have and have the followers they have, and so it's a very fine line, and that's part of guarding our hearts, because the desires of man is deep, and a lot of times people, it's like shameful to admit that I want that person's life and I want what they have and I want where they're at. No one is ever going to, most people are never ever going to come out and fully say that, but your heart will tell and your actions will tell as well. And time will tell as well, because you'll see when you've taken this step that this person took, bought this thing that this person did, moved to this place, your actions will really tell where your heart is at. And so this episode is really to encourage you all, if that's a place that you're struggling with, or maybe you never realize that you're struggling with. And even if you think that it's not, just take some time to really reevaluate as you step into the new year. What am I focused on? What am I over consuming? How am I overspending? How am I, every time you feel anxious, like a sale comes up, this new thing drops, this new iPhone, and you feel this compulsion to purchase it, check that. Something comes out, like you can like have a, interest in something and desire, like, oh, I would like to have that. But if it's like a compulsion, you feel like I have to have that, I don't know. That's not normal.